Next slide. There we go. So Tracy or Tia, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. This is Tia. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So we just have a few small updates to share with you guys today on the restaurant meal program. If you want to go to the next slide. So since the last time we met with this group, we've been very busy with the task force for the restaurant meal program. The task force has met and voted on potential pilot areas that will be recommended to the legislature in our report. We've recruited several members with lived experience, which we were very excited about. We got a lot of feedback on that process and got some members that joined our last task force meeting, which was great. We're working with our publishing team, kind of our creative people, to work on some branding. We want to get our branding up front and done before we get too far into the project, so we have something that'll be recognizable to everybody. We are furiously writing our legislative report. It is due by the end of January. And that has to have all the reviews done and edited and okayed by the task force by the end of January. So that is our main purpose right now, is getting that report written with all of our recommendations. And then once the report has been completed, we'll be focusing on more of the technical aspects of the program, how we'll engage with businesses and community partners, what the actual processes are going to look like. And so that will be once the report is done and submitted. And then we'll just be waiting for legislatures to make up their mind on the program and what's going to be the next steps. And that's all the updates I have. If anybody has any questions.
I don't see any questions so far.
Okay, well, I will be here if you think of any.
Thank you. All right, next slide, please. Okay, Melissa, are you here?
I'm here. Hi, I'm
Awesome.
Melissa. I'm a newer team member with the SNAP policy team at ODHS. So happy to be here today presenting an exciting update. We were just awarded an approval for a waiver. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So the waiver is for renewal interviews that we don't have to have them for 24-month SNAP certifications. So it's a specific group that it applies to. This is for households who are approved for a full 24 months. They won't have to do a renewal interview if all adult members of the filing group are either elderly or disabled, and they have no income from employment. So both points have to be true. It is a waiver that's effective for 18 months. So it will start at, I was going to say the end of this month, but it was the end of last month. We're already in December. So the waiver started November 25th and is good through May 31st of 2026. And it is anticipated to streamline the recertification process for over 82,000 households, saving time and resources. So saving our time and resources for our workers to do other tasks and other things, but also saving these households time, because usually they're in situations that are very stable and there aren't a lot of changes. So there are some situations, if we could move to the next slide, where we still should have an interview scheduled. And that is number one, always, if the household requests an interview, of course, we're happy to have an interview when we should absolutely honor that. That's the main reason we will continue to do interviews for this group. Another reason we might need to do an interview is if another program requested at the time of the renewal requires an interview. So some of the medical programs, for example, require an interview. So we would just do everything all at once. And thirdly, if the eligibility worker is trying to do the renewal without an interview, but we're getting a negative result, like a denial, then we are to reach out and talk to people. Maybe something changed and we could and maybe it shouldn't actually be a denial. So that is a really good time to have an interview. Actually, it's required. So it's a pretty straightforward waiver, and it's helping, again, this very specific group of people. Does anyone have any questions about this? Okay. Well, that is that update then. Thank you.
I don't see any so far.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, next slide. We have lots of updates for you guys today.
Hi, Misha,
All
can you hear
right.
me?
Antonio, I think I saw you join earlier.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So this change is one that impacts
I can hear you.
individuals.
Do you hear me?
This change is one that impacts individuals who have an able-bodied adults without dependence status. So it's individuals 18, but not yet 55. These individuals are normally asked to do work requirements in order to receive SNAP benefits for longer than 3 months. So at this time, Oregon is pausing the requirement that is needed to receive SNAP benefits for longer than 3 months. We are doing this through waivers. Most of the state is waived from this requirement, and then we are spending down discretionary exemptions. So discretionary exemptions are special exemptions that are awarded to states by the Food and Nutrition Services. And these discretionary exemptions are being applied in Benton, Clackamas, Multnomah, Washington, and Yamhill counties. And starting in January, we'll be using them in Hood River. What this means for this group of people is that we're hoping through September of next year, they won't be required to do these work activities. In October, we sent letters out to individuals that were impacted by this policy, and we explained the change and are hoping that people are applying back if they lost their benefits because of not meeting the work requirements. So the call to action for this group is, please help us share the message. If someone that you work with is currently not receiving SNAP benefits because they were told they weren't meeting the work requirements, encourage them to reapply if they were on a case on their own. And if they were in a group with other people, they should request to be added to that case without having to reapply. So any questions about this?
I have a quick question. I'm so sorry, I couldn't find the raise my hand button.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thanks, Antonio. I heard you say most of the state is exempt, and then I heard you say you're using those discretionary months for certain counties. Is that do I understand correctly that the entire state of Oregon ABOD doesn't apply? It just so happens that that is as a result of partially waivers and partially using your discretionary exemptions?
Yes, that is correct. And that's why I want to make sure that we understand this correctly. So most of the state is waived from this policy, and it's the big population counties right now that should be applying them, but we are using discretionary exemptions to keep that policy from applying. For right now, we have enough to we hope to sustain till the end of September of next year, and then afterwards this policy is going to come back. That's why we're calling it a temporary pause. We want to make sure that we're clear about that, and we're not giving wrong messages or misunderstanding that this policy went away, because it didn't. We're just trying to do what we can to keep it from applying to people based on what the rules allow us. But
And
yes, bottom line, yes, most of the state is waived and the rest are being through discretionary exemptions.
Okay, great. And then just a quick follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Are you, I assume you are contemplating that there might be changes, like even to the waivers or what you can use discretionary spending on when the new administration takes control? Is that, do you have any,
Yes,
yeah, do you have any reason to
we
think that
are.
this is safe or not safe?
So unfortunately, we can't. We don't know what the new administration is going to do with this policy. Any guess that I have would be, up in the air. We know what the intentions are, and so, but just sufficient to know that we are tracking any changes that may result from the incoming administration. And if any of this program is impacted, we'll definitely try to do our best to communicate those changes. But as of right now, with the current information that we have available, this is our plan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next, if there's no more questions, next slide. I can't see the chat, so please let me know if there's questions in the chat. And Heather put in the chat, there may also be changes when the Farm Bill is reauthorized. So again, we're keeping track of all those things because the Farm Bill impacts how the SNAP program works. We're definitely keeping track of any changes that come through that. So, we're keeping an eye and being vigilant about what changes are asked of us to make. But again, Oregon tries to do what we can so that we can continue to support people who are in need of our services. So, which brings me to this next slide. Back in November 2019 and 20, there was a weather system that impacted most of the Northwest, California, Oregon, Washington were impacted. In Oregon, we had over 25,000 people who lost power during that night. And so we used that information to submit a waiver request so that people have more time to report any food losses that they may have experienced as a result of this weather system. Normally, people have 10 days to report any food losses. With this waiver, we are extending that time period to 30 days. So people have until December 18 to report any food loss stemming from that specific weather event. As part of this, because we, as an agency, verified the power outages, we're not requesting people to provide verification of the incident if they are requesting benefits as a result of the November 19 and 20 power outages. There's another change, but instead of explaining it, I'm going to let my colleague Heather Piercy talk about another change again that makes it easier for households to report these kinds of losses. So next slide, and Heather, if you're here, please.
Yes, thank you. Just a heads up, I'm recovering from an illness, so I'm a bit nasally and might have a cough here and there. Just ask me to repeat anything if I'm difficult to understand due to my illness. Wanted to let you know that Oregon Administrative Rule 461-165-0230, which is the rule for replacement of program benefits, is being updated to remove the requirement to provide an itemized list of food lost or damaged due to a disaster or household misfortune. Although this rule will be updated on the OAR database at a later date, we're able to implement this change immediately. So moving forward, SNAP recipients will only need to include the estimated cost of the food with their sign statement or attestation when requesting replacement of food lost during a disaster or misfortune. Both forms, we have a paper form and a form within the one system. that are currently in the process of being updated to reflect this change. In the meantime, the section requesting an itemized list of food lost is not required. That can just be skipped. If you'd like to participate in the Rules Advisory Committee, or RAC, for this specific rule change, please contact Jennifer Lay at jennifer.l.lay@odhs.oregon.gov to make that request, and I will also put this email information into the chat. Does anybody have any questions?
And I want to include, if you have any questions about what I mentioned regarding the November 1920 weather events.
And feel free to ask questions in the chat if you think of something later on.
So just to kind of restate and clarify, moving forward, if folks need to request for SNAP replacement, when they fill out the form, they do not need to itemize what their needs are?
That is correct. We just
Okay.
need the value of the food that was lost.
Okay, great, thanks. I just wanted to state it one more time so that everybody heard it and understood it, because that's a great change.
It is. We definitely want it to be clear, so thank you.
All right, I don't see any questions coming through on chat. Can we go ahead and go to the next slide? All right, Lisa, are you here?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. So we can go to the next slide. I am Lisa Leapham. I am here to, oh, sorry, I guess back to QC. I'm here to share our quality control website with you all. This is something new that my team worked really hard this year to develop. We recognized that when we're reaching out to participants that have been selected for a quality control review for the SNAP program, there was a lot of questions about whether we were a scam, whether it is a legitimate review. And so we wanted to put together something that we could give out as a resource, not only to our participants, but also to our community members and community resources to help them if they're coming to you all saying, hey, I got this letter, what does it mean? Here's a resource for you. And so I don't know if I'm able to share my screen. Oh, there we go. So this is the new quality control website. So there's a couple of different pieces on here. So the first part, the first portion of the website just kind of gives a brief overview of the review process. It is completely random. Cases are selected based on a mathematical random selection process. And so nothing that the participant did wrong. We're just reviewing to make sure that they're getting the appropriate amount of benefits. We want to make sure that they're getting the amount that they should be getting, whether that's, completely accurate when we review it, whether they were supposed to get more or whether they were supposed to get less. So that's our job, is to make sure we're giving them out appropriately. And so kind of the next piece is our frequently asked questions. So we kind of broke it down into several sections so that it's easier to follow. On the right-hand side, you'll see that plus sign. If you click the plus sign, it will drop down the answer for them. That way they can kind of hide and look at which ones pertain to them. I will point out in this section, if we go down just a little bit further, please, the section where it says, how can I learn more about this process? There is a link to a video that our counterparts in California were able to create that kind of talks about what happens if a participant decides not to cooperate with the review, and kind of explains the disqualification part of this process. We obviously don't want to go there. We want to be able to continue to keep benefits going out the door. But we do have a requirement if folks are aware of the review to disqualify them from SNAP if they don't complete the review process. And really their review process is a quick interview with us. We try to keep it as short as possible. And then providing any verifications that we might need. We can usually do most of the legwork, but that does sometimes require some help from our participants. So great video. It's a cute little animated video that just kind of explains the process a little bit. So definitely one that I wanted to point out to you all here. And like I said, interviews are 30 minutes or less typically. Obviously depends on how many people are in the household. Could be longer if it's a language case where we're using some translations, but typically 30 minutes or less. They can be done over the phone. If folks are more comfortable having us come in person, meet them somewhere in person, we are more than happy to do that as well. But we know the convenience of the phone is always helpful. And then just trying to think of some other highlights here. We do require verification of all of the eligibility factors, even some that aren't required at interview with the agency. So just so you guys know that ahead of time, we do require verification per our federal partner guidelines. So, and then this section kind of talks about those verifications. We do offer a release of information. If folks choose to use that, then we can use that to kind of help gain that verification for them, take that piece off of their plate. But totally up to the participant whether they want to sign that or not. We recognize that having us in their personal lives is sometimes very unsettling. So we recognize that. And then we scroll down just a little bit further, we will see a list of our quality control team members. Their names are also on any documentation that is sent out to the participant from our office. That way they can recognize, okay, this person is part of that team. Their contact information is on the notices that are sent out. My contact information is on here just in case you know, folks want to call me. I'm happy to speak to them and answer any questions that they may have about the review process. Other than that, I think that's the gist of it. Any questions? Okay, well, I appreciate everyone's
Looks like Beth has a
time.
question.
Oh,
Beth?
go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks. Lisa, thanks for the website. I think it looks good and it is helpful for people to have faith in something that they can read about it. I have a couple questions. Where to start? So this is just because you just talked about this in the verification section, it doesn't say what documents you'll ask for. I understand because it depends on the person, but are you sometimes asking for immigration documents and immigration verification?
So we try to use our SAVE documentation. If the agency has already verified that piece, we will use what the agency has. However, if it's something that hasn't been verified or we can't verify it through SAVE, we may potentially ask for something to make sure that we've got that verified. Again, kind of a case-by-case basis, but we try to use those things that are available to us before we make that request.
Okay, on a similar note, sorry, let me ask this next question, which is if you're doing this quality control interview and as a result of the quality control interview, you realize that, for example, there's been an overpayment, or you think there's been an overpayment, like what are the steps that you would take after that? Yeah, what steps do you take with the information you gather during the quality control interview?
Yeah, great question. So what happens after the quality control interview? So we have 120 days to complete the review, which means gathering all that documentation, writing everything up. Once that is done, we will send it over to our federal partners, submit it to them. And then we are able to share it with our agency partners. So our overpayment writing unit with the field to make any corrections on the case going forward, because we want to make sure that it's corrected going forward as well. And so those things will happen after we've submitted it to our federal partners. That's a federal guideline that we have to follow. But yes, there will be steps along with that. And then it will go to our recovery agents that will work with the household on how to repay that. And there's varying different ways on how they can work with the household. So.
Okay, so I guess I have a request to make that at the top of the website, you have a part that says, am I in trouble or what? But I think I think it would be important right now, especially right now, to specifically and clearly state that you don't share the information that's gathered in this interview with federal immigration officials.
Okay.
I have a case that kind of still haunts me, honestly, which was a woman who is getting SNAP for her, it was like 6 children, and she didn't get it for herself because she didn't have the status to get it for herself. And when she got randomly selected for this quality control, and she just got so afraid, she just said, I'm not going to do the interview. I won't get SNAP benefits anymore. And
Yeah.
I worked as hard as I could possibly work to convince her that we could go through the interview, that it wasn't a risk to her, but I could not get her to get SNAP food benefits, and it literally haunts me. So whatever you can do, I don't to try to
Yeah,
make that
absolutely.
less likely would be much appreciated.
Yes, we can definitely add something in there. Yeah, I will make a note of that right now. Right, any other questions? Okay, well, if any of you think of anything else that we should add or maybe explain better, please let us know. Open to feedback. Again, this is something that we just got published at the end of August, and so still looking for that feedback from you all and our participants. So if there's anything we can do to make things better, let us know.
Thanks, Lisa. And I noticed that Antonio did put a link to save in the chat in case there's anybody who is unfamiliar with that system. You can go to that page and check it out. I did hear my internet was not so great. Can y'all hear me okay right now? Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I called in just to be on the safe side in case I needed to switch over. We got some feedback here in the chat. There is some questions on any changes with the new administration. As Antonio stated earlier, this all we can do is tell you where we're at the moment. We can't speculate on what might change, but we will definitely keep you as up to date as we can as anything changes. Did anybody else want to address that comment or say anything in addition to that? I want to open that up to any of the team that's here. Okay. Well, we have come to the time where we would like to hear from you. What's going on out there? Is there some stuff that you'd like to report back to us, some needs, some trends you're seeing, concerns, you have questions, the floor is yours. I see Beth went on camera. Beth, did you have something? Okay. Does anybody have anything they were hoping to talk about today or to share? We had a great story that Susan shared with us last month, or was it last month? Wasn't last month. We had to cancel last month, so I guess it was in October. But it was really great to hear that story.
Misha, I might just
Yeah.
plant a seed and or ask if anyone on this call is hearing from or talking with their with the folks they serve about the skimming replacement benefits, because I know it's being decided on the federal level whether they're going to extend the skimming replacement program. And I just wondered, I guess for both for the agency and for other organizations, like, is anybody working on this on a federal level, or giving any input, or having experiences with it, or people that they're serving having experiences with skimming and replacement?
Do you mean with the community partners, Beth, or do you mean from the state agency perspective?
Both, actually. I'd love to
Okay.
hear anybody who has any thoughts on it. I'd love to hear.
So we're paying from I'll launch in. From the ODHS side, we're paying attention again to what's happening from what the proposals are that are out there already that are being discussed. I know some of the other things that we're also looking at are some of the chip and pin technology solutions that are moving forward in other states at the moment, but in Oregon, we're still in a discovery stage around some of that. It is quite a costly endeavor, and so we're trying to get some more information from our EBT vendor around the rollout that's going to be occurring in California, and what that might be able to be done in terms of anything similar happening here in Oregon. We are, again, with the continuing resolution, right now that is set to expire December 20th, I think it is. And so we're not quite sure whether they'll authorize a farm bill, as Antonio was saying before, or whether or not they'll bump it down the road a ways. But I think this is one of the biggest things for us that we're keeping our eye on in terms of any potential impacts for the program. So from that side, we've also had a lot from community partners who are in the business sector that are in more of the smaller business and retailer sector that have given us a lot of feedback, including our farmers markets, around concerns that they have around the cost of doing chip and pin cards and what that might mean for them from that transactional merchant level. And so I know from Oregon's congressional delegation, they've been working on proposing ideas for small grants to be considered for the Farm Bill to help support those smaller businesses and farmers markets. But I don't know whether or not that would be something that would get adopted. That's definitely part of the Farm Bill, bigger conversation, but those kinds of percentage pieces are part of what we're looking at. From the administration side, just as general update, if we do end up going to something like a chip and pin card or something of that nature, the cost match for the state agencies is 50% of the administration costs that's federally covered, and 50% the state itself would have to find. So that's kind of the operating of the actual card portion of it, not the benefit amount. So that's kind of like where we're at right now. Like many states, we're all kind of watching California to see kind of what are the final costs looking like for them. What has that journey been like for them? And they haven't rolled it out yet. It does take some time. But we also know that other states are pursuing like quotes and things to try and find that as one of the solutions moving forward.
Well, that is really helpful just to hear, Heather. Thank you. Has anybody heard about anyone getting crime victim compensation money if they, I guess that people have been getting the skimming replacement, but I do wonder if that would end up helping if it's not reauthorized or extended or part of the Farm Bill.
I haven't heard of that myself, honestly, but I'd be interested to learn more.
I'm the same. I have not heard about that, nor has it been. This is Maura with SNAP. It hasn't been brought up in the skimming and scamming conversations for TANF or SNAP as of yet, and we meet a few times a month.
All right. Well, thank you, Beth. And if anybody has any feedback for Beth about what you're seeing, it sounds like she's really interested to hear more about that. Let's see, there was a question in chat about SNAP applications and if we have seen that there's been an increase from college students. It does look like James has replied to that, not hearing about an uptick in SNAP applications for that population. But SNAP team, have we heard of anything there that you can speak to?
I think it would be a little early to really honestly say. It was mid last month. And that is a nuanced part of the data sets that are available. So I don't know that we know yet whether there has been. What we do know though is that we are coordinating with a lot of community partners that work with students to really amplify that message. And to make sure that like our SNAP outreach partners get to hear about that. We're working with a few of the other state agencies again to really highlight that change. And we've been also working more closely with Oregon's Higher Education Coordinating Commission as well, to try and make sure that targeted messaging and communications are going out there so that we can really maximize on that change for students.
Thanks for responding to that. This is Tammy. I'm the Basic Needs Coordinator at Portland Community College, and we have a group of peer navigators who are really focusing on SNAP outreach and application assistance. And that email that went out came from the feds, and it didn't include the Oregon-specific college eligibility exemptions. And so, yeah, I was just wondering if there was any impact from that email that went out. We do a lot of work around educating students about their eligibility and encouraging them to apply for benefits. So I was a little disappointed that it wasn't state specific because I think that a lot of students may have missed that they are actually eligible for that. And I also wonder if you all were notified or had some advance warning that that email was going to go out.
Advance warning, not so much, Tammy. But realistically, it's one of those opportunities, right? And so we've really taken it in the spirit of that. And I think, some of the work we've been doing with HEC really gets us closer to like ensuring that we're sharing the same messaging as well, and making sure like some of the community colleges have the same information about what is allowable for students in Oregon. How do we administer our program here, because not every state is the same. We know that students in other states don't always experience quite the same program as they do here. But really just trying to leverage where we can with updates to our staff. We sent a transmittal out. I think that maybe it was a week after we got that letter out, maybe less actually, we made sure that we'd sent some of that information out to our staff. And so I think it's just about continuing to really prioritize that for folks. I know it's been mentioned in a couple of really core community meetings as well. So really getting the word out has been one of the key things for us.
Thanks so much.
And Mayor and Heather, I don't know if you saw, there's a question in the chat about the recently released budget. Is there anything that you want to say about that or can say about that at this time?
Well, let's just talk about it from a SNAP perspective first, right? Because that's the whole reason we're here today. So what I will say with the governor's budget that was really heartening to see from a SNAP perspective is the ongoing support for the Elderly Simplified Application project for SNAP. That actually went from our agency recommended budget and made its way into the governor's recommended budget. And the ESAP project for SNAP would extend the certification period for older adults to 36 months from 24 months. It simplifies what they need to include in an application, and it would simplify what they have to report to the agency at that time, right? The timing of it shifts. It allows us to also balance some of the workflow things for our staff a little differently. And overall, states that actually do this particular project see a really good retention for older adults in the program. And so we're really hoping that this is something that makes its way right the way through the legislative session to actually be funded on the other side of session this next year. So it will still go to, I think it's going to go to probably Ways and Means as a place for consideration, because there is a small budget attached to this ask. And there are some system changes that certainly would need to be made, but that's one of the big wins, I think, in terms of what we've seen. There are some other areas of the self-sufficiency programs that have also been kind of brought forward. Some of that includes a youth experiencing homelessness program, and there are some additional supports being considered for the TANF JPI program, which is that food incentive that families can get with the TANF grant. So that's making its way on through for fuller discussion next year. So we'll kind of see. I think we're hopeful that the priorities for ESAP have been recognised by the governor and is definitely going to be part of the conversations that we see moving into next year. I think one of the things we are hearing about, though, also that we're starting to normalize in our federal funding from like post-pandemic related federal funds. And so we are looking at ways in which, again, how the Farm Bill and how our own legislative session kind of overlap a little at this point in time. So we're keeping our eye on both and kind of seeing what flexibilities come from all of that, whether we get a continuing resolution or a Farm Bill reauth, what will come through session. And I think the other part that we're keeping our eye on, again, a little here, is really going to be some of the other impacts to food insecurity in our state and any of the other initiatives that are being proposed from other state agencies related to our work, like WIC and our child nutrition programs. We'll keep our eye on what's happening there as well. So we are one, thankfully, bigger nutrition support system in Oregon, and we do talk on a regular basis. So we'll have an opportunity, I think, to have more dialogue there, and we may be able to bring some of their teams into this space in the future and give some updates too.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Okay. Well, I think this is a good time to go ahead and go to the next slide. There are some upcoming changes that I wanted to let you all know about and give an announcement about. So, gosh, I have been in this role now for a couple of years, and way back when I was introduced to you, you may or may not remember hearing that the position I was in was actually a temporary position. It has it's contractual and has an end date, and it's been extended multiple times. But it is coming to an end for me personally. It will, as of the end of this year, will no longer be in this position and will be moving back to my base position, which is also an engagement. It's just it's a regional role. So I'll be working more with those counties, Lynn, Benton, Lincoln counties, which means I will not be facilitating this meeting any longer. But I'm still available, and I do want you all to know that, because I still work with partners. I'm still engaging with folks in communities, and do know that if a question does come up and I'm the email that you have, you can reach out to me. And I wanted to let you know that, of course, James is here too. You can reach out to him. And the SNAP, actually, if we go to the next slide, I believe it's got the information for our SNAP outreach email. It's a great email to be able to reach out to if you have questions. And this particular meeting, we have quite a few folks from our SNAP team. If you're from the SNAP team, can you either maybe come off camera so folks can see you, or you can raise your hand so folks can see who's here from the SNAP team today? We have quite a few folks here. It was a great opportunity for you to meet a lot of people, I think, at this meeting with all of the updates. And my understanding is, moving forward with this particular meeting, that it will be facilitated by the SNAP team. So you're going to get a chance to get to know the different members of the SNAP team even more, because they will be facilitating the meeting for you ongoing. And so I did want to let you all know that that's the plan there. There are a couple of people here that you might not know, who are silent supports, but very important. Hannah and Susie are administrative support for this meeting. You might hear from them. So look for those names. There could be an email that comes out with the agenda that is coming from Hannah or from Susie, because they'll be supporting the SNAP team in this meeting space. So I did want to let you know all of that, and uh, I will hand the floor over in just one second. There's one more thing I wanted to let y'all know, because this is kind of new news. We thought there would be an extension. I sent out 2025 meeting invites to everybody. You've all got them on your calendar. Those were created on my Zoom account and through my Outlook. And so, since I will not be the one facilitating, that means that I will need to delete those meetings, so that they can be recreated in a shared account that anybody can access for facilitation purposes. So the meetings are not being canceled. They will still happen on Thursday at 2:05, the fourth Thursday of the month, but it will be a different Zoom link. So that those will get deleted. And we're going to try something a little bit different, in that we're going to send out a link to register for the Zoom meeting, which you've probably done for different larger presentations and conferences and whatnot. The reason for that is the listserv got a little well, it sent out a lot of emails, we'll say, to this self-sufficiency partners the last time I sent out invites, and we don't want that to happen again, because that, I know, is annoying for you all to have a flurry of emails from this listserv. So this should take care of that, but you will want to make sure that you click on that link, register, and then download your personal Zoom invitation to download to your email account, and that'll be how that goes. So I will send all this out in an email, because I know we have some folks missing today, but wanted to kind of clarify that so you know what to expect and what's going on. And it's at the end of the meeting, so I was trying to do it fast. I apologize. I will stop talking now, because I see there's some really nice things in the chat, and in case anybody else has something they want to say. So all right.
Oh, Misha, sorry, it took me a moment to take myself off mute.
No,
I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Heather and me and the SNAP team for stepping in for this facilitation, and really appreciate it. So Good luck on your next endeavor, and I'm sure that we will be crossing paths in the future as we both work with community partners for different SSP and OEP programs.
Thank you. Definitely. You will still see me around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be regionally focused now instead of statewide. So it does mean that I won't be facilitating, but you might even see me pop into the meeting just, to be with you all and to hang out and hear all the updates and whatnot as well. So, James, did you have anything you wanted to say to the group? I noticed you were here as well.
Oh, no, I want to add my thanks to Misha for taking an idea that I had a long time ago and actually making it a more functional reality. And so, and of course, with the SNAP team too, it's only possible with all of you. I'll add that, things are a little up in the air on my role, but there are eligibility sort of office hours at community engagement time that we hold quarterly. I know many of you know about that, but I'll just make a little plug for that. But I'm anticipating that this meeting will continue to do well, and look forward to continuing to see you and everyone else at these subsequent meetings.
Thanks, James. And you reminded me, I forgot to let you all know. So some time ago, we did release a document called the welcome guide, partner welcome guide. And just in preparation for me moving back to my other position, we have done an update on that to make sure that all the contacts on that document are up to date for you, and you know who to reach out to if you have questions. So we will get that sent out with the follow-up when that goes out next week, so that you have the most updated copy. Should you have any questions about any of the programs or need to reach out, you have that you can reach out to, in addition to the SNAP Outreach email that I just put in chat for you, or reaching out directly to James and I, or any of the SNAP team that you might be familiar with. So thank you all for the kind words in chat. I appreciate you all, and I look forward to continue working with you, and wish you all the best December, and hope you get some time for yourself during this month as well. And yeah, there will be a SNAP meeting in January. Be looking for that. Oh, and we will actually probably send you an additional invite to the self-sufficiency partner meeting in January. There will be the full summer EBT report will actually be happening during that. You may be interested in that. So we'll make sure that you receive the invitation to that meeting as well, so that you can attend. Maybe you get to go to 2 meetings next month. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.